Welcome to Vision Plus, a program featuring a positive outlook, dealing with everyday situations of marriage, children, and business. Believing Philippians 4:13, I can do all things through Christ who gives me strength. Teacher, author, speaker, delighting audiences from New York to Sacramento with a heart and message for the people today. Bonnie would like to remind you of the 800 number on the screen. Please feel free to call at any time throughout the broadcast and share your concerns. Leave your prayer request and someone will pray with you. And now, teacher, author, and speaker, Bonnie.
Hello, we're back again. Welcome. I'm glad you joined us. Without you, we wouldn't be here at all. Wouldn't need to be here. So we're glad that you joined us. We're going to continue what we had talked about last week about Bob Fu, who is he's the president of China Aid. He's originally from China and lives in Texas now with his wife Heidi and his 3 children. And they also are he goes back and forth to Washington, D.C. and other places. And he has already, one of the persons he's working for is freegao.com. Want to hear about that? And if I understand it, he's been persecuted a lot.
Oh, yes.
Yes. In fact, was he the one that was to receive the Peace Prize that you went and were selected to go and get the Peace Prize for him? Was that the one?
He was not the person, the recipient.
Okay, who was
another person? Dr. Liu Xiaobo.
Okay, on the back.
And Attorney Gao
G-A-O.
Gao.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he was also the nominee of Nobel Peace Prize twice already. Yeah.
Now, Gao, the one that was to receive it, and you actually went to the ceremony and were selected to receive the Nobel Peace Prize for this other person.
That's Dr. Liu Xiaobo. Yeah, Dr. Liu.
And why did he win the Peace Prize, do you think?
Because of his really brave championship for the freedom of expression. He was the president of China's Independent Pen with a group of a couple hundred Chinese dissident writers. And he had been also a champion for more democracy. And the featured really characteristic of his Nobel Peace Prize was he was one of the drafter of a charter called 08 Charter, or Charter 08. It was drafted in...
Can you spell that word in English, Charter?
Oh, Charter.
Charter.
Charter. Charter.
Oh, okay.
C-H-A-R-T-E-R.
Charter.
Yeah,
okay.
Charter. Sorry,
okay.
I'm English. Yeah,
Charter. English. I love that.
Yeah,
Chinglish.
Charter 08.
Yeah,
it was
Charter.
It was modeled after the Charter 77. When the former Czechoslovakia president, dissident writer Havel, he drafted that in 1977, became a blueprint for democracy in Czechoslovakia. So Dr. Liu was one of the drafters for this Charter 08. It was drafted in 2008. And then he was immediately arrested and sentenced to, on Christmas Day, he was sentenced to 11 years in 2008.
Oh my goodness.
In 2007.
But he still won the Nobel Peace Prize, and you went to the ceremony to get that in Oslo, Norway.
Yes.
Now, if some of you did watch last week, you realized that Bob, who was born in China, was actually a communist, or was
atheist.
Atheist.
Communist.
And he had an English teacher that came there to teach, and the teacher was not allowed to talk about Christianity or anything that has to do that while the teaching's going on. But after class, he did, and gave him a book that he read that was about, what was the name?
Biography of Chinese pastors called Xi Sheng Mo.
Those were Chinese pastors, probably, that had become Christians in their testimony, or the way they became Christians.
Yes, that his testimony, how he
So
became a Christian.
after Tiananmen Square, then you actually read that book, and the Holy Spirit just led you into believing it.
Yes.
And then you asked the next day, in fact, you asked the Christian, the
American
teacher,
teacher.
the American teacher,
Yes.
to that you want to become a Christian. So you met your wife in college at the class, and
Yes.
you and Heidi married, and then you went through quite a time getting out of China into the United States. Take
Yeah.
us through, because the people were horrendously persecuted.
Yes.
When you told of the stories of him being punctured in his tentacles because of the horrendous, there's no way. If you get an opportunity to see these videotapes of some of the torture that they go
Yes.
through, I want you to get a chance to see that. We need to be very careful to keep our belief in the Lord Jesus Christ and to remember what made this country strong, or what makes us as human beings strong. And so we don't want America to become like the atheist communists were at one time. Well, tell us a little bit about your getting out of China, and I guess we've got to make it succinct, to get into the United States and bring your wife here.
Yes, we were imprisoned in 1996 after the Chinese government discovered Heidi and I were behind the underground Bible school that we had been helping, and also we established, planted a house church in the university areas in Beijing with lots of college students over there. And so we were thrown into a jail in Beijing for very short, just 2 months. We were accused as the charge was illegal religious activities or illegal evangelism.
The underground church,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and the home church, the house
The
church.
house church, yeah. And then in 1996, after 2 months imprisonment, and we were released temporarily and immediately put under house arrest. And we were asked by the Chinese security agents to cooperate with them, and they asked us to report all the telephone calls, all the visitors.
They came to see you under
Yeah,
house
came to
arrest.
see us. Yeah, and we also, Heidi was pregnant without a pregnancy permission card.
So you actually have to get a permission card
Yes,
to
even
even
for the
have
first
one
child.
child.
Yeah, even for the first child. And the permission card only came from the mother's work unit, and because each work unit has its own quota. Like your work unit, you are only allowed to have 5 pregnancy in this year, even though you have 10 couples got married that year. So the other 5 has to wait. And so we couldn't get a quota because Heidi was fired. I mean, it was primarily, it was kicked out from her graduate school because of her imprisonment. She was studying in a graduate school in Beijing. And so we had to, and also we heard from some insider in the government that we were put on the rearrest list. We would be arrested close to the Chinese National Day. Usually the Chinese government would do some, they call it clean up street campaign by bring back all they called old friends back to prison in order to show their stability of the capital to the outside world. So we were on that list, and we had to, we prayed, and we thought, we really have no way to go. We just decided to escape from Beijing first, and we went into hiding in the countryside for a few months, and God opened the door, and really miraculously were able to join a tourist team and went through Thailand and then to Hong Kong. In Hong Kong, we stopped there, and at that time, Hong Kong was still under British control. And
you were the leader because you spoke English, for one thing, I guess.
yes, and that was
Another miracle.
humorous of God also. And so before we left for Bangkok, and the tourist agents basically appointed me as the leader of the group. And so after we stayed in Hong Kong, we started to apply for a refugee status, and we could not really find any country who are willing to accept ours. And our first child, our son Daniel, was born in Hong Kong as a refugee, and have no citizenship of any country, because Hong Kong would not recognize him as a Hong Kong citizen. At that time, you have to at least have one of your parents be a Hong Kong citizen before your child can be a citizen. So we were, left over there really stuck. And but we know many brothers and sisters all over the world had been praying for us, and just barely a little over a week, or about a week before Hong Kong was handed over to China, the U.S. consulate called us and said, we're accepted to come to the U.S. as overseas refugees of the United States. And we learned that God moved the hearts of former President Bill Clinton, and he made an executive decision. The National Security Council direct the consulate. We were able to land in this free country 3 days before Hong Kong was handed over to China, on June 27th, 1997.
Well, I can appreciate somewhat some of the things you're saying. Tony and I were in Hong Kong, and we had tickets to go to Beijing. And just how the Holy Spirit speaks to you in a still small voice, and we both looked at each other and said, we're not supposed to go.
Yes.
And we just felt that we didn't really know why, and we didn't get on the plane, and didn't have a place to stay. Went back to the hotel. Anyway, the plane exploded in the air, and all the people were killed. And so we had friends from the United States that called where we had been staying. We had no hotel, but we were in the, packed there, as they say in the United States, like sardines in the airport. And we heard over there in this, I was tall. First time in my life, I was about the same size as everybody else. But we heard overall at the counter, well, you got to get us on this plane. And there was somebody from Texas that was working with the airlines, and we knew that Texas accent, so we went over there. They weren't letting her get on, and she worked for the airline. And she said, but we've got a hotel room with 3 rooms. It was a suite. So she invited us. We paid her probably a third or half of what it was, and got to stay there. Our son was traveling with us at the time too. So we were God saved us from that explosion. And so I know He works in miraculous ways. Now you're now in the United States.
Yes.
Where did you stay in the United States in the beginning?
Well, in the beginning, we first flew to North Carolina. Local church, American church, graciously hosted ours, and with some Chinese friends over there. And then after a few weeks, we moved to Philadelphia. I immediately started my seminary career at Westminster Theological Seminary, my summer Greek time. So
how would you get the money to go to college and go to the seminary and go to fly from one place to the other?
I'm so grateful, really. God raised these gracious, generous people of God, really. I mean, the Westminster Seminary basically paid for all my tuition for my years in Philadelphia. And there's a group of local Christian businessmen, and they help us for the accommodation, and even give me a car before I have a driver license.
You had a lot of miracles.
Yeah, it is.
You
I mean,
did. Anybody that doesn't believe in miracles need to hear your story.
That's
because
the
that
living
is
God
so
can do.
unbelievable.
Yeah.
And so you're there and how many years there?
In Philadelphia,
Yeah.
we stayed there for 7 years.
And your child, your daughter was born there. Or-
Yeah,
no.
my first daughter Tracy was born there, and until 2004, we met with a group of Texans and from Midland.
With this
Texas.
southern accent that says
Yeah.
"foo few" instead of "foo."
Yeah, the Midland Texans, they were lobbying for Sudanese Christians when I was meeting with the same congressman and also Senator Brownback. And so they knew about me through the media and met with me. They immediately said, what could we do for you? They're such a loving, caring, nice people. And so at that time I was almost on the edge of burnout, and with a family, 2 children, and full-time student studying for my PhD, and my parents-in-law stay in the same roof, and rescued my father from Bangkok, also back to the United States. So it was lots of things going on. I was very tired, exhausted,
Yeah.
and but really
Moved to the slow pace of Texas.
yeah, the Lord just
Yes. We were in Pennsylvania for a decade and then in Texas for a decade, so we're kind of
Wow.
following you around.
we
I got to
follow
speak
you.
in Congress, so it was
Oh.
a lot of things have happened.
Thank
Similar,
God. Yeah.
similar life.
Thank
Uh-huh.
God. Yeah.
That is. So now you're in Midland, and how did you decide to start this incredible China Aid? And now you're the president of that and founder of it. How did you decide to do that? Where?
Well,
Were you in Texas?
Actually, I registered that in a basement of our Philadelphia home, and that in the beginning, really, I was not having any clue on building or any desire to build another 501c3 nonprofit organization, and I have no experience, no idea how to do that. But it was one event of persecution in China that 2001 on Christmas Day, one group of church in China, in South China, was heavily persecuted. 58 of their leaders were all arrested, and 17 of them were heavily sentenced. 5 of them were sentenced to death. So I was, just asking the Lord, how could we help these brothers and sisters, especially those 5 sentenced to death? They could be executed any time. So many people around me wanted to help. So some donate some funding to contribute for the legal defense, so we can hire some lawyers. I want to just to transact this funding to them, but I asked several organizations. None of them want to touch this. They say, "Oh, it's too dangerous, too political." So I just said, "Well, if you don't do that, I register an organization just to do that, to help, move the funding to help this organization. Help this legal case." So I registered the organization, and we immediately supported that case, and we hired 58 lawyers.
50. Whew, you ended up with 150,000 signatures, didn't you?
That's for free Gao campaign.
Okay. That other
150,000 signatures.
And growing.
already. Yes. It's
And
growing.
we need yours.
We need your help because Attorney Gao is still missing for almost over, over 2 years already. Yeah.
He's still missing?
Yes.
But he was missing another time and was located again.
Yes.
So
he
he's
was-
probably somewhere alive.
he-
I'm going to believe he's alive.
in the name of Jesus,
Yes,
we claim
amen.
our brothers still
So
alive.
you now told people you're going to help with this China Aid. So you're the founder and the president.
Yes.
And beautiful magazine, well, anyway, newsletter, ezine, in gorgeous, beautiful
Thank you.
pictures and everything. And so it tells about the cases of illegal church demolitions and China's illicit organization, delegate to the Congress, Luzon Congress, barred from leaving the country. Police in Henan province find Christian as a way to amass wealth. And so many. Operation Deterrence. If you want to know more, you need to get this magazine, this newspaper. It's almost like a magazine. And
Thank you,
also, so that we can learn what's going
Yeah,
on.
that's
And
one
to
of
see the exciting thing of how many people are becoming Christians with home churches and underground churches in China. So they're terrified here in the United States a lot of time. China's going to own the United States because we're so indebted to China.
Well, there's some truth about it, but I think we still have a God much bigger than China, And so our mission, our core mission, is to advance religious freedom and rule of law in China by exposing the abuses and encourage the abused and equip the leader of the independent churches. Yeah.
We had a person, Tony and I are part of the International Services Council here in this area, and one of our persons that stayed with us was from Baku, Azerbaijan, the Voice of America. And he was telling about before, 4 years before Obama was elected, Obama was in Baku, Azerbaijan, and he was telling, now we're not interested in your oil, we're only interested in relationship. So he was already going around the world and telling what he was going to do for the world as elected president of the United States and be the president of the world. Of course, he wants to be the world leader, not just
yes.
U.S.
I hope, the U.S. can still,
Get back
live
to
that ideal. That,
conservative
we are the
issues.
city on the hill.
Yeah, that's right.
The very country of the beacon for freedom. To be rebuilt.
Yes, well, we have seen, emails and I guess YouTube, whatever, come through that say that he's really a Muslim, where he said, and he was carrying a book that says, after America fall, what's going on. What do you think the people you've met, do you have an opinion of how they feel about the current American regime, the president and his cabinet? Do you have any?
Well, since I'm on this, the field for advancing religious freedom and rule of law in China, and it's really a non-partisan, issue, and because at least every, party need, both Republican and Democrats on the surface, they said they will care about this issue of freedom. And look at what had happened in Libya. We also in the same column, right? And but it was disappointing, of course, in the past 2 years that at least this administration took a hands-off approach on the human rights and religious freedom issue on China, and they focus too much one-sided on that other issues. Which are also important, but you cannot have the ultimate security, safety for the United States by ignoring, the brutal human rights violation and religious persecution in China. I think that's a wrong way, wrong policy, and it will be a dead end. I think the administration has acknowledged that already.
Well, I know that it was one of the things said that Obama was rather pessimistic about some of the things that were going to help China.
That's true. That's the atmosphere, the mentality I sensed when I talked with this administration's high-rank officials even the White House officials, and also as well as the congressional leaders. In terms of dealing with China or urging China to improve human rights, most of them felt very pessimistic and almost like we lost all the leverage, and China would not listen anymore. But I still think inaction is not an option, and inaction itself is an action.
That's
and
true.
We cannot keep silence. I think that's why I urge those brothers and sisters who watch this show to really take not only prayer but also take prayerful actions. Go to the website china.org or freegao.com and join the campaign. I think together we work and can make a difference. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So that would be where anyone viewing this could get involved is
Yes.
through both of those organizations,
Yes.
and so that we maybe can bring some relief to the persecuted Christians in other
even
areas, the martyrs, and
That's true. We
and
have family
so many
prisoners found
Mhm.
and family martyrs found.
One story, I know we don't have time for a bunch of your wonderful stories, but when you were in prison in China, I understand that you weren't, they told you not to preach, didn't they?
That's
And
right.
they told
yeah.
you, and you were singing praise song, and they
Yeah,
told you
yeah.
not to sing.
Mhm,
And
yeah.
so what was this about? Like, instead of praising the Lord like this, you were doing
Well,
this?
we were asked just to every day for like 10 hours sit still and watch straight, and so we just after the first 2 rounds of denial from them, the threat to them, I just used this to sing the hymns without the word
Mhm.
itself.
Yeah.
And
Did you
there was a spiritual revival
Oh,
in the
yeah.
prison cell itself.
And you hummed the tunes.
Yes, I hummed the tones, and other prisoner followed me, and in my prison cell, and then other cells in the same
Uh-huh.
prison followed our cell. So
Mhm.
it became a worship team almost in the prison. So by the end of my 2 months imprisonment, most of the inmates in my cell regarded me as their counselor already. So they shared
They
me
were
their
thirsty
stories.
and hungry
Oh,
for the
they're
Lord,
very
weren't
thirsty.
they?
They want to know more.
I know my daughter, being a Russian interpreter, she said she loved that where it says, go into all the world and preach the gospel and baptizing them and bringing them
Yeah.
to the Lord.
Yeah.
And you found a way to be baptized even if they were couldn't
Yeah.
go to a church and be baptized in a baptistry. You got a shower baptism.
Yes.
And you said
Yeah.
that sometimes they would go and break the ice.
Yeah, they
And,
like that
like-
because it's more secure. And during the winter time, the police would not go to the
Ice
lake
lake.
or the ice place. So when
And it'd be
200 people go there and break the ice with a hole, and one by one, they
Baptize
yeah,
them.
baptize
Oh.
under the ice.
So you could be pleasing to the sprinklers and the baptizer immersers.
Yes,
over.
yes.
Well, it's a joy to be around you, and I'm glad that God brought you out of China to free a lot of other China.
Thank you.
People from China. And we want to thank Tony for running camera for us today, and for our wonderful ABD, all but the dissertation, Bob Boo. That's
Thank
better.
you.
Boo.
Yeah, very accurate.
And for being here in the Huntsville, Alabama area. And we want you, if you'd like a copy of this DVD, you just ask us for it. We'll be happy to have Tony to run off you a copy, and we'll get it to you. I'm Bonnie Liphart along with Bob Fu and Tony Liphart. Bless your heart for watching.